from PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's time for the podcast that's going to go off topic. The podcaster that gets mixed up, that talks around. Will it go around in circles? Yes, Scooter's mind. Will it go around in ovals? Or what's that one? Parabol. Maybe we'll talk about parabolas. Parabolas. What do you call two people at a bowling alley? Anyway, what is this person talking about? What's that? It's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. Hey, everybody, it's Scoots here. I'm trying to make these patron pre-rolls as quick as I can. I know it's a tough time. We're all expected to be resilient, which is not easy or natural. We all need our sleep. And I don't know. It's not been easy for me, so I know it hasn't been easy for any of you or your families and stuff like that. We just passed 1,000 episodes, and I still care about the mission of the podcast, being here for free twice a week. I've been making this show since 2013, and I know a lot of listeners put a lot of work into supporting the work that goes into the podcast. So if you're in a position to do so, you want to be a rebel with the cause, please think about becoming a patron, especially if you listen to Sleep With Me a lot, multiple episodes a night, multiple episodes a week, and just think about all the value in Sleep With Me provides and compare it to other stuff that you pay for. Maybe there is a subscription you don't use for music or a streaming service, and you could cancel that and sign up and support Sleep With Me. It would be a huge help. I invite you to just think about that. Think about, is there a service I use much less than Sleep With Me that I'm paying for every single month? This came from a lot of feedback from 2 months ago from patrons who said, I actually saved money because I canceled a streaming service I was paying $20 for, $15 for, and I supported Sleep With Me as an annual patron for less, and I listen to Sleep With Me every night. So I invite you to consider becoming a patron if you're in a position to do so. If you become an annual patron, you can save money. You probably could save money if you look at subscription services you're not using compared to how often you use Sleep With Me. And you could sign up to become a patron at sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/PATRON. And there's nothing wrong with not being able to be a patron or not being in a position to do so. The show is still going to be coming out. Be here for you for free twice a week. I'll be still here putting in the work because I love it, because I care, and because I've been there. So thanks so much. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive. Have you tried the Name Your Price tool yet? It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to find a rate that works for you. It's just one of the many ways you could save with Progressive. Get your quote today at Progressive.com and see why 4 out of 5 new auto customers recommend Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Allform. You know, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you've heard me talk about my Helix mattress, how much I love my Helix Dusk Luxe. And Helix has left the bedroom and started making sofas. They just launched a new company called Allform, and they're making the best sofas we've ever seen. And what makes an Allform sofa so cool? Well, for starters, it's the easiest way you could customize a sofa using premium materials, and at a fraction of the cost of traditional stores. You get to pick your fabric, and that fabric is spill, stain, and scratch resistant. So you pick out the sofa color, the color of the legs, the sofa size, and shape to make sure it's perfect for you and your home. They've got armchairs and love seats all the way up to an 8-seat sectional, so there's something for everyone. You could always start small and buy more seats later on. Allform sofas are delivered directly to your home with fast, free shipping. You know, in the past, if you wanted to order a sofa, you had to go to a store, and they had to wait like weeks or even months to get it shipped. and you needed someone to come in and assemble it. Allform takes just 3 to 7 days to arrive in the mail, and you can assemble it yourself in a few minutes. No tools needed. So easy. I mean, I picked out my Allform sofa, and I've slowly added a few seats onto it, an ottoman, more pillows. And it's Friday when I'm recording this, and you know, our Allform sofa is so big and roomy. We're ready for Friday movie night. We're gonna have our popcorn on the ottoman, and Sophia and I get to stretch out, be comfortable, spend some quality time together. together and relax. And when we're not chilling on the sofa, it looks amazing. And then if getting a sofa without trying it in a store sounds a little risky, you don't have to worry. You get 100 days to decide if you want to keep it. That's more than 3 months. And if you don't love it, they'll pick it up for free and give you a full refund. They even offer a forever warranty, literally forever. To find your perfect sofa, check out allform.com/sleep. And Allform is offering 20% off all orders for our listeners at allform.com/sleep. That's ALLFORM.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it's time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone, the one part of the podcast I need you here. It's where I pop my peas, if you please. I thank the listeners who supported the sponsors. Let the sponsors know about it via social media or email. Used our code. Those things in combination, that's how we keep sponsors around, keep the show free. And that's why I take the time to thank listeners like Laura, Junior P, and Jacqueline B. Now, not only did Laura get some sweet peach and some rose scented products from Native, got multiple of the sweet peach because it smelled so good. Laura introduced Junior P to Native, so supported a sponsor, told a sponsor about it by posting on Instagram, and then brought Junior P into the fold. So holy cow, talk about paying it forward. And then Jacqueline B also supported Native, let them know about it. A repeat customer, I think, as well. So thank you, Laura, Junior, and Jacqueline. Holy cow, all of you smell so good. Even unscented, it is amazing. Thanks for supporting the sponsor. If you support a sponsor, let them know about it. Let me know about it. Fill out the form at sleepinmepodcast.com/sponsors, or just tag me in a social media post, and I'll try to thank you here on the Sleepy Supporter Zone. The second part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is you getting the support you need. If you have extra needs right now, there's links to resources you can connect with right now in the show notes, including global resources. So please use those links right in our show notes. It's about supporting the members of our community, saying Black Lives Matter, saying stop AAPI hate with our actions. And that's also the third part of Sleepy Supporter Zone. Is an organization I support, and I support Migrant Justice. And you can head over to migrantjustice.net to support them or learn more. It's pretty simple. They're organizing for economic justice and human rights. They're working hard on the Milk with Dignity program, and you can find out more and support them at migrantjustice.net or use the link in our show notes. That's the end of the Sleepy Supporter Zone. Oh, Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son, sounds like an earful, wrote the theme song, edits episodes too. Carl W. the Legend, also edits episodes. Kenny, Scotty, and Jennifer, runner. Eric and the team at Astound or on the website. I am the Mystery Bard, I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you, any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. What do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, changes in time or temperature, routine, so anything on your mind keeping you awake, any feelings about what's on your mind or just in general, remnants from the day or the distant past. I mean, oh boy, my feelings are still strong from times, time. Anyway, like it could be physical sensations, work stuff, life stuff, weather stuff, whatever it is, I'm here to keep you company and take your mind off of things. And what I'm going to do, or what I propose to do, is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones. Oh, so creaky are my dulcet tones. A bit like a like a floorboard in a home, a well-worn home, or whatever they call it, well-lived in. Pointless meanders, those are well-worn too. Superfluous tangents, like a glove. They fit me like a glove, superfluous tangents. Kind of like a glove you would give for an octopus. If an octopus wore gloves, elbow gloves or whatever they're called, that may or may not resemble a superfluous tangent, but that would probably be a superfluous tangent. The octopus that wore gloves. Well, why would an octopus wear gloves? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. I guess this is our episode. I thought we were going to talk about something else, but I got to write this down because I got to stick. Hey, new listeners, sorry. I mean, there was a lot of reasons. So I guess that's tonight's episode will be about the octopus that wore gloves. Oh, so if you're new, that's a couple of things I wanted to check in with all of you about. I just went on a superfluous tangent there. Creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders. That's all the stuff that helps create a safe place to take your mind off of stuff while you fall asleep. So if you're new and if you're skeptical or doubtful or unsure, that's totally normal. That's how most people feel when they first start listening to the show. So I want to just acknowledge that and say it totally makes sense. And let me tell you, I got more stuff to make you doubtful about. This is a podcast, believe it or not, that you don't really listen to. You just kind of barely pay attention. Your job, you don't have a job. My job is to talk about stuff in a way that's barely appealing to your ears. You say, well, it's creaky, it's senseless, maybe a bit self-indulgent. I say, you're on the right path, so just barely listen to me. Just like if I was some distant relative, holding court at a dinner party or something, but you were in a comfortable place, you say, well, you could just sit in this, we got a booth for you, so you don't have to. Or if if you're an extrovert, we got a booth full of people. If you're an introvert, we got a booth designed for you to relax in. And everybody says, let them chill in the booth. It's a place for chilling and being quiet and people watching. And you're just barely listening there in that booth. Or you say it doesn't have to be a booth either. It could be a table or chairs or something else. You could be floating above. Or I don't know, listening across the room with super hearing. So just barely listen to me. Another analogy is like... why did I say analogy so strange? I don't know, but is like watching the clouds go by. So that's one. This is a podcast you barely listen to. It's also a podcast that it doesn't really put you to sleep. Even though Sleep With Me is kind of the podcast that puts you to sleep, it's really here to take your mind off stuff and keep you company while you drift off. That's why the episodes are about an hour. So give you plenty of time. So you don't have to, you say, oh boy, I got plenty of time to fall asleep. I'm just going to hang with Scoots here and barely listen to him. He's going to go on a tangent about parabolas, maybe, even though they're called parabola. He doesn't know if they're parabolas or a parabola. He doesn't know his parabola from his parabola. And I'm saying, correct. You're correct about that. You wouldn't know parabola if he was swinging on one. Isn't it the shape that it goes in? Parabolic. I can say that. But I can't. So I can say parabolic, but I can't say parabola. Parabola. That's why. Holy cow. We got somebody that took a physics class in high school that just popped in my brain. What did you say? Parabola. Man, wow. That I think is the correct pronunciation. I'm not kidding. So this is probably pretty close to 1,000 episodes. I don't know if that's ever happened where some part of my brain, that was kind of hopeless since, I was rolling with it. I said, I know how is this parabolic? Parabola. Now I can't say it incorrectly, but I knew I was saying it incorrectly, but I said, well, I don't know what the correct, this feels wrong. Just like when I was swinging on a parabola, how is it? Parabola, right? Parabola sounds like a form of like communication. He was speaking in a parabola. And you say, well, that's how you describe sleep with me. Exactly. So, this show doesn't really put you to sleep. It keeps you company while you drift off. If you can't sleep, I'll be here to the very end, though. So I'm here to keep you company whether you're awake or asleep. I'm here to be your bore friend, your bore bud, your bore bra, your bore friend. Did I say that? Your bore bud, your bore bay, your bore sib, your bore burr. Not your barber, not your bore barber, but your somebody said, oh, it's like a neighbor, your borber. So whatever. So yeah. So those are two things to know if you're new. The other thing, and what up, my regular listeners? Did you just see that parabola? That's what I was calling it before. Parabola. That's what I called it first. And that's like, I want to give a shout out to my Ronkonkomans out there. Everybody from Ronkonkoma, Lake Ronkonkoma, whatever other train stations are near there that I'd be saying right now. In Ronkonkoma, what do they call a parabolas? Parabolas. It's true. It's funny because it's true. Ronkonkoma. Long Island, how I love thee. Say, Scoots, how many like different? And I say, that's it. That's as much Long Island as I can give you. Parabolas. And that's not even, that's just like the essence of Ronkonkoma. I'm not actually doing it in a Long Island accent. Okay, where was I? You might not like this podcast. You don't need to listen to it. It might not put you to sleep. It's just here to keep you company. Structure of the show. So if you're new, structure of the show is different too. So I just want to give you all the information. This is like the normal way regular listeners get into the podcast if it works for them. At first they say the structure of the show or the idea of not listening is not easy. So you listen a couple times and then you get used to it. Then all the stuff I'm telling you makes, the fact that none of it makes sense starts to make some semblance of sense later on. Okay, so what do you call it? Where were we? Structure show. Show starts off with a greeting. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Then there's listener support stuff. Then there's sponsors. That's really how we're able to be here free, not behind a paywall, twice a week. Then there's the intro. The intro goes from like minute 6 or minute 8 to minute 20-something. And the intro is where I kind of go on and on and on, and pointless meanders and superfluous tangents to introduce the show. But it also, for regular listeners, gives you a chance to ease into bedtime or get ready for bed or do your wind-down routine. So that's why the intro goes on and on and on, because I found I need to be eased into bed and to let the day drift away, to let the sun set. And to slowly, you stop thinking about the stuff that's on my mind and say, okay, I'm just going to barely listen to Scoots here. So that's the intro. 3% of listeners do start the show at like 20 minutes or so. And then a few thousand people who support the show on Patreon listen to story-only episodes. So that's an option if the intro isn't for you. But just kind of wait and see after a couple episodes. Because there's people like that listen all night. There's people that start the episodes in the middle of the night. There's people that listen to just intros, not even to stories, patrons that do that. And then there's people that listen during the day when they need some calming or some distraction, or they're doing some sort of rote task and they want something to barely listen to. So those are all things... I guess those are all things you should know as a new listener. So that's the intro. Then there's business between the intro and the show, the story. It's just a part of the podcast structure is where that's the place they like the business. The companies that are gracious and support the show and the listeners that support them. so we could be here for you. Then there's a story. Apparently tonight it'll be about an octopus. Like I was just listening to see if my brain said, no, squid, octopus that wears gloves. Hopefully, I mean, that sounds interesting to me. I mean, it's curious, especially elbow gloves or whatever they're called. So we'll tell that story. Then there's some thank yous at the end of the show. So that's a structure show. Show ends up usually running around 60, 62, 64 minutes. Sometimes longer, sometimes not as long. So that's the structure of the show. The reason I make the show, besides my parabola, it's parabolic, but parabola. Anybody else wonder, are those the same things? Because, well, actually not, because parabolic means that's like a saucer, right? Like a parabolic dish is, I think that's what they say. That thing's have you gotten parabolic, man? Oh, boy. Do I have a parabolics? That's like, what'd you say? If someone can someone in Ronkonkoma use some UK slang in an inappropriate way? That's how that would be. That would be the answer to and the other one would be the punchline, I guess. But I can't go back to it because then it would ruin the fact that it's barely a joke anyway. So, what was it? Oh, but I was just wondering about that. Like many things I wonder about here. I wonder if parabola, parabolic, para, I don't know. But those are words that are in my brain right now. So that's what I could tell you. And the parabola is that thing. It's kind of like an arch. I don't know. My daughter was studying it in school. So I said, oh, that's an interesting word. I like saying that. Maybe I'll forget how to pronounce it and then try to pronounce it for 15 minutes and then eventually get it right. Then analyze the word without results. You say, no, like I'm like a computer with a spinning wheel. Okay, so that's a structure show. The reason I make the show, one, I have parabolic and parabolic thinking. I've got an internal parabola. I speak Parabolean. I say, yeah, you do. Parabolean. So that's one reason. The other reason I make the show is twofold. One, because I've been there in the deep, dark night, tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. And if I can help, that would be my honor to help you. That's one. And then two is you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place you could rest and that you feel like you could, relax and get the sleep you need to live a more fuller life and that your life feels manageable, right? And that to me is very important because you deserve it and our world deserves it. The people around you, and that makes our world a better place to live in. It does have an impact on everybody. If you feel a little bit better and you're a little bit more rested, no pressure though. No, I mean, it doesn't have an impact the other way. I'm just saying, it makes our world a little bit better. And so that's my role here is to try to help you by being goofy, talking in circles or other shapes and going off topic to be your boyfriend and to keep you company while you fall asleep. So I'm glad you're here. I really appreciate you coming by. And I work very hard at Yearn and I Strive, and I just want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again. And here's a couple of ways we're able to be here for you for free twice a week. Hey, everybody, it's Scoots, and really, this is like an accountability thing. During the pandemic, I did not make my regular checkup appointments. Haven't got a physical. I finally just got back into the dentist. A few months ago, I finally got into the eye doctor. But with everything opening back up, it is time for me to catch up on my regular health care. And if you're in the same position I am, Zocdoc is amazing. You just download the free Zocdoc Zocdoc app. It's the easiest way to find a great doctor and instantly book an appointment. With Zocdoc, you can search for local doctors who take your insurance, read verified patient reviews, book an appointment in person or video chat. You never have to wait on hold with a receptionist again. Whether you need a primary care physician, a dentist, a dermatologist, a psychiatrist, eye doctor, or another specialist, Zocdoc has you covered. And you just need to go to Zocdoc.com/sleep and download that Zocdoc app to sign up for free. Every month, millions of people use Zocdoc. I'm one of them. It's my go-to whenever I need to look up and find a new doctor. Like I said, using that Zocdoc app, it made it so easy for me to find a local eye doctor. And anytime I'm thinking of another specialist, I just use that Zocdoc app and I search. I can read those verified patient reviews. I can see where they are, and then I can book an appointment. It's so easy. But I also like just getting to know what patients think about the doctor and reading more about them. So I use Zocdoc. You should too. Zocdoc makes healthcare easy. And now is the time to prioritize your health. Go to Zocdoc.com/sleep and download the Zocdoc app to sign up for free and book a top-rated doctor. Many are available as soon as today. And that's Zocdoc.com/sleep. ZocDoc.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, Scoots here, and I'm here with this story you've all heard. A tale as old as time, the tale of the octopus who wore gloves. And you might be saying to yourself, Scoots, is this like one of those prequels, or is it one of those like more of the Marvel movies that starts in the middle of something, or is it different? And I'd say, well, this is an octopus, one. And so this takes place, you remember this as you listen, that it takes place in a world that we only know about through myth and underwater cameras and people who scuba, rovers, I think they call them, because this octopus lived under the sea. It's been sung before. But this was the octopus that wore gloves, what we would consider like gloves that go just past the elbow, which you don't see a lot anymore. Sometimes you see some forearm gloves. I guess I would want gloves that go past the elbow. If I was going for long gloves, you'd say, wow, these ones talk about layering. And they say, well, are you going to be warm enough? Well, no, I've got my gloves on. Also, it would help. I mean, this is not undersea, but it would help with the tucking of gloves, right? Because that's like a big thing. Now, I don't live in an environment that could be frigid anymore. But that's, I think, one of the most underrated things, at least for me, one of my top strategies that I had as a kid and that I carried over into adulthood, which did add one layer of difficulty, was you put on your gloves first and then your jacket. I don't know how many people out there do that, but let me know about it. But you put your gloves on. Also, I wear mittens. We could talk about that. I don't wear gloves, but you put your gloves on, especially if we're talking winter gloves or winter mittens. And then you slide your arms into your jacket, and you do have to do a little pushing. But then, in an ideal situation, for example, if you're going sledding, this is the example this is the most fitting for. Or I guess a general snow frolic. So this wouldn't be for people that are more into structured activities like snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, downhill, snowboarding, skiing, though it could apply. But what you do is you put your gloves in through your jacket. I think I told you, and then you zip up your jacket. That's going to be the hardest part when you have your gloves on. And then, of course, something inevitably comes up within 10 minutes of you getting outside that calls for you to remove one glove. But it does create, it is a treat. Holy cow. If you need to treat yourself and you're in a winter environment anytime in the next, anytime after this point, and you say, wow, I really could go for a treat. I say, okay, go ahead, put some gloves on, then put a jacket on. First, put on everything else. Maybe even your hat, because getting a hat on with gloves or mittens is not exactly easy. Then slide your gloves to your jacket and zip your jacket up. Maybe have someone there to assist you. This would be one of those occasions where a squire, here's a job, here's a potential niche business. Just an idea that came up in my head is squire, winter squire. You say wintersquire.com. Maybe, I don't think I'll be purchasing that because I don't think I could spell squire. Was there a rocker named Billy Squire? Is that somebody that was really like, is that like, was that really a thing? But you could be a winter squire. That's pretty nice to say. Winter squire. Well, what do? Will I come by? Make sure it's easy to get. I mean, I guess it would be better. It wouldn't probably be very profitable. Could you say, what's the market for that? And you'd say, well, I don't know, because you're right. The people that the ideal market probably already has some sort of, robot or like something like Rosie the robot that does it for them. So I don't know. You could do it for like a gift. There you go. What'd you get me for the holiday season? Coupons again. Oh, coupons. Did you clean out my fireplace? Because remember, that was your coupons from last year. You lost the coupons, so I can't, they were non-transferable coupons. So I was unable to clean your fireplace. You got to present me with a coupon. Then we schedule it. Then you present it to me again. And then so that's like, just so you know, that's how it works with my coupons, gift coupons. But this season, I'm going to be your winter squire, which is only available in, what does a winter squire do? Well, I help you get on your winter clothes before you go outside. I don't go outside. That's not included in these coupons. And then when you come home, I don't help you with any like defrocking or the mess that most people leave behind. And I don't own a mud room, so I don't know what it's like for people to have that mud room or a garage, but we'll have hot cocoa prepared for you. So those are the roles of your winter squire. Oh, really? Yeah, I mean, the key thing is that I make sure you put your gloves or your mittens on before your jacket. That's what I'm really here for. Make sure your hat's adjusted. And then, if you have one of those jackets that zips and buttons, no one ever, that's underrated. You don't know how much, that zipper is literally, that's why we want to button that flap, is to have full, cover your zipper. But so that's what a winter squire does is, so anyway, that's just something I thought about when I think about gloves. I think about that feeling. Talk about security. You see, there's no wind getting in on my wristy poos because I've got a jacket over the cuffs of my mittens or my gloves. And you may say, Scoots, is that why the octopus wore gloves? And I say, no, actually, it's not. It is actually in octopus lore. If you really, and some people may say they have an, until you've really been with, like you've talked about myths, or you say, well, is this similar to the monomyth? Yeah, they say, no, this is the octomyths. And I say, oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. And then they say, please don't kiss in, monomyth, no kissing of octopuses. I thought you were just here to learn from us. I say, oh, no, I was just trying to use big words that I knew, like monomyth. I don't know. That makes me feel like I'm like Campbell, like I'm Joseph Campbell or something. But so in the world of like the octopus who wore gloves is really a legendary. I don't know if it's a folk tale or or a myth or a fairy tale. But so once upon a time, there was an octopus, right? Who lived in the octopus world under the sea. And this octopus, lived at home with its family. And this octopus's name was Nazi. Nazi, not Nancy. Nazi. Can't you say it like Nancy, but it's not Nancy, it's Nazi. Nazi the octopus. And Nazi reached that special age that many characters reach in sleep podcasts, where they said, "Why don't you go out and swim around a little bit?" And Nazi said, just go out and swim around. You don't have to ask or have a destination or have a time to be back. Or is one of you going to come with me? Or should I call a friend? And they said, no, Nazi, just go out and, go around and see how it goes. And Nazi said, you want me to just go out and see how it goes? And they said, yeah, go ahead. Go out there and go out there in the sea and see how it goes. And Nazi said, okay. And so Nazi went out, and Nazi, first went along the reef and kind of was enjoying. And if you've ever seen an octopus swimming or moving, I don't know if they call it swimming, with that jet, I think they travel by water jet or something. But, Nazi was there among the coral. And the great thing about, for Nazi was that when you're moving there, well, you can sense other things. And I don't know. I'm only studying octopus myths. So I don't know if there's echolocation happening or hearing. But Nazi was really in the zone, hearing everything at once and hearing nothing at all at the same time. And just swimming, and the colors were bright, and the sunlight was breaking through. And the reef that Nazi was on was kind of gaining elevation towards the water surface, so the water temperature was changing and slowly getting warmer and warmer. But then off to the right of the reef, Nazi noted that down in a bit what we would call a gully. So, use these kind of land walking terms for all of us. Just off to the right, down a gully, in between the reef, which would look like a valley a little bit, not that high up. Saw something down there moving, but I don't know, something about it, just in the peripheral of. Nazi's vision said, something down there going on. And so Nazi took a long turn. Now, this may have been instinct. It may have just been style. But if we were watching from above, it would say it was with a flourish, like an ovular circling, looking down. And Nazi saw what could be called some sort of sea mammal. And some of you may be seeing like a manatee. Some of you may be seeing a sea lion or a seal, maybe even an otter. Not anything whale-based, something that is comfortable on land and the sea, maybe, at least in your imagination, because you'd say manatees don't go on land, Scoots. And I'd say, yeah, I'm just trying to anthropomorphize this just a bit. Nazi spun around, and it was like in a bed of what from our view would look like a green grass, I don't know, kelp or something on the ground with flowers in there, and to us, you'd say those are are those flowers purple or hot, somewhere between a hot pink and a purple, those flowers are. And I say, yeah, it looks like that to me too. And Nazi said, looks like that sea lion, we'll use in this case, is just crawling around in there. And so Nazi went around and Nazi headed down, and the sea lion looked up at Nazi and said, "Hey." Nazi said, "What are you doing?" And the sea lion said, "I dropped something. I was up there swimming on the surface on my back, and I had something and I dropped it." And Nazi says, what did you drop?" And the sea lion said, "Well, like it was a shell." Like I saw this film about otters, and I saw that sometimes they go on their backs and they eat right off their stomach. And Nazi said they showed it to us at school, the same thing. I know exactly what you're talking about. And the sea lion said, "Yeah." Like, so I said to myself, I got to try that. But I just had happened to be collecting some bivalves that had, given themselves up to the circle of life for my benefit, which I have great gratitude for. And Nazi said, "Great gratitude for the circle of life." And the sea lion, said, "By the way, what's your name?" And Nazi said, "Nazi." And the sea lion said, "Cool. I'm Allie." And so our names kind of almost rhyme. And Nazi said, "Allie, Nazi." Kind of. So anyway, you had me eating like an otter, because I can't technically eat like an otter, Nazi said. I tried it one time after we saw the movie at school. And because I'm not shaped in the otter way, it was hard. I tried putting. So the sea lion said, "Don't worry. I would like to hear your take on my story before I complete my story. It doesn't bother me one bit." And Nazi said, "Good, because I have a tendency to do that." The sea lion said, "Don't we all?" And Nazi said, "I guess we do." So Nazi said, "Yeah, I was trying to eat off of my body, it's just what I call it. Some people would say, isn't that your head?" I say, "No." "Is it your torso?" I'd say, "It's my head and my torso." But like the food would either slide off, or then I'd have to pick it. Then I'd have to it just didn't work. So then I tried putting 4 of my arms together, or you could call them legs. Either way, we don't really care. I don't know if you know that. And the sea lion said, Allie said, I did not know that. That's interesting." But then I was trying to eat out of my things. And then it was like some of the food was getting in my, my suckers, and then some of it was between there. And then it just didn't work either. So, I think it would be cool to eat like an otter, maybe even more so for me, because I hadn't found a way to do it. And then Allie laughed and said, "There's probably a good reason neither one of us is otters. But oh boy, does it looks like that. Do you think the otters are really enjoying themselves as much as it looks like?" And Nazi said, "I hope so. I really do hope so. And I think that we both are, I don't think it's projection. If we're both doing it separately, we came to the conclusion." And Allie said, "Yeah, I wonder. I've never met an otter, but so anyway, I was trying to eat like an otter. I guess I have some advantages that you don't have, Nazi. But I don't have all the advantage. I have a big, wide area to eat off of. But it was very awkward for me. I'm not used to. I do some floating on my back, so that part wasn't. But the eating part, I'm not really. I don't have as adept. Whatever you call those things. What do the otters have? Do they have hands or whatever they use? And so I was trying to eat, and I was kind of somewhat successful because I had prepared everything ahead of time. And when I prepared everything, I noticed that one of the shells I had looked just like my Uncle Cluj. And Nazzy said, you got an Uncle Cluj? And the sea lion said, yeah, I got an Uncle Cluj. And one of the shells, it was like a shiny, beautiful profile of my Uncle Cluj. And Nazzy said, wow, it's interesting. So a shell looked like a side view of your uncle's head. And Allie said, yeah, I mean, not exactly, like different because it was shiny, like the shiny inside of those shells. And then Nazzy said, well, what did the other side look like? I said, well, it was like this, one of those cool shells, so not one of the boring ones. So even though the outside wasn't shiny, it had those scalloped edges and not a scalloped shell, but it was beautiful. Most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Nazzy said, sounds like it. So I set it aside because I said, this looks just like my Uncle Cluj. Now, just like we had gratitude for the circle of life, my Uncle Cluj is on my Uncle Cluj's own journey beyond this sea, into the sea where the famous Lady Witchbeard, the land of 11 seas or whatever, not this, just was this spaceship Earth sea. And Nazzy did not know but Nazzy just nodded politely because Nazzy had never heard any of that stuff. But Allie could tell and said, okay, well, maybe you should ask your parents about some of this stuff. But I was going to give the shell to my aunt because I said, well, or keep it for myself, give it to my parents, give it to somebody. Because he said, this just looks, it's important. And you know what it made me feel? It made me feel good. It made me feel good to give it to somebody. Its beauty and its shine made me feel good. And as he said, I can hear that in your voice. So where were we? And Allie said, good point. So I had it set aside, and I had everything else on my belly along with that shell. And then I started eating, and it wasn't going good. And then a wave came and splashed me in my nose, and then and then the shell fell somewhere in this grass around here. And I can't find it, and I've been looking forever. And that's why I'm crawling around down here, is I'm trying to find the shell. And Nazzy said, well, maybe I could help you. And Allie said, well, that'd be great. Like, if you see a shell that looks like the profile of it, if it looks like my profile, but it's caught in the grass, I don't know what we're going to do. And then Nazzy kind of realized, well, kind of the way my body's designed makes it hard for me to do a close-up search in between the blades of grass. But then Nazzy said, well, I have all these arms. Let me try to just pick up a bunch of stuff. But what Nazzy found was that it wasn't very efficient because there was ended up just picking up a bunch of pebbles and a bunch of other stuff, and even saying, well, I don't know if these flowers, this grass wants to be disturbed. And politely, Nazzy did spend some more time working with Allie, and then Allie said, why don't you run along? You were in the middle of something. To be honest, I think this, I know my Uncle Cluj knows I was looking, so yeah, I appreciate your help, but you run along, okay? And Nazzy said, fair enough. So Nazzy went off again, and even went to the surface, and instead of having anything to eat, kind of tried to pretend Nazzy was an otter and wondered what an otter was like. And Nazzy was kind of daydreaming and didn't really realize that Nazzy had gone in, they lived close to a couple bays, in some inlets and those kind of things. And Nazzy had kind of gone into a shallow bay, an offshoot of the sea, or wherever they lived. I don't want to, this is Nazi does not need us coming and swimming in Nazi's area. And Nazi had noticed the water temperature had picked up quite a bit, and then that the ground was kind of close, and that the water was a little more murky, and that there was lily pads and those kind of things. And Nazi said, interesting. I'm out of the depths of the water, but this isn't the beach. This must be one of those, like, saltwater swamp type of thingamajigs, brackish something. And Nancy was kind of looking around saying, this is cool. I know I've heard of lily pads before, and, we went on a tour of this area for school, but I never seen this. And then Nancy heard something and said, hey, you. And Nancy kind of said, what, is somebody talking to me? I said, hey, you, yeah, you. And Nancy said, me? And they said, yeah, who else am I talking to? And Nancy looked up and there was a dragonfly who just landed right by Nancy. Nancy said, wow, you are beautiful. You're a dragonfly. And the dragonfly said, I'm not just any dragonfly. I'm Danny, the dragonfly. How you doing? And Nancy said, well, pretty good. I was daydreaming. I got in this area. And the blue dragonfly said, you lost? And Nancy said, I don't think so, because I can hear those things that make the ringing sound that are on the surface of the water that the humans use. And I use those to find, I always use those to kind of figure out where I am. So I guess I'm not technically lost, but I'm kind of lost in a good way. I'm on a bit of an adventure, just cruising around. And the dragonfly said, just cruising around. That's cool. I was just flying around. And I landed on this thing, and I saw you there. I said, is that an octopus just cruising around? And I said, what's an octopus doing here so close to shore? And Nancy said, nothing, I guess. And what's a dragonfly doing on a lily pad? I thought just frogs were on lily pads in the movies. And the dragonfly said, nah, pretty popular with the dragonflies. Probably more dragonflies on lily pads than frogs. And the dragonfly said, mind if I ask you a question? And Nancy said, other than that question. And the dragonfly laughed to Danny. And Danny said, looks like you got something on your mind. And it said, well, I just was with a sea lion who lost a shell, and I was thinking about that. And it said the shell looked like a profile of the sea lion's uncle who had changed seas in the journey of life. And the dragonfly said, well, that's some serious thinking for a kid. You probably have some feelings about that, huh? And Nancy said, well, I was feeling warm, but it turns out that was more I guess I was feeling more warm, like thinking about, well, that's nice, because the sea lion wanted to give the shell to someone else, and the sea lion was telling me how good it felt to think about that and how beautiful the shell was. And the dragonfly said, well, those are strong feelings. They don't have to be strong in any direction, but those sound pretty nice. Yeah, pretty nice. But again, I can't tell if it's the water temperature or my feelings. And the dragonfly said, you're wishing you could help the sea lion find the shell? And Nancy said, yeah, I got my suckers got in the way, and we just wasn't able to do it. I wish I was an otter. And then the dragonfly said, everybody wishes they were an otter. It's pretty common. The only people that don't wish they were otters are I don't even know. People that probably better off saying, well, have a good day. No need, And Nazi said, yeah. So Nazi said, you got any ideas of how to help that sea lion get its shell? And the dragonfly said, well, I got an idea. How's your manipulation of your arms or your legs? And Nazi said, pretty good. And the dragonfly said, well, why don't you hold out one and I'll try to land on the tip of your finger. Can we agree to call it your finger, even though it's your arm or your leg? And Nazi said, yeah. And the dragonfly said, okay, well, now lift me up. And then they agreed to do this on a regular basis. They became fast friends. And the dragonfly started to fly and dance on Nazi's fingers. This was, again, over months and months and months and months. And soon Nazi was really able, from practice, to become very adept at using Nazi's arms, not in an otter-like way, but in a very skillful octo way. And Nazi quickly developed a reputation across this area of the sea to say, well, you could have Nazi do it if it became for this particular specialty, but it was only with the very tips of Nazi's fingers. And a lot of people didn't understand that, so they'd say, hey, do you know... can you do this for me? And Nazi said, well, no, because I still have my suckers. And while I have some control over them, and again, I've worked with those as well. It does add some difficulty. And they said, understood. And then one day, they had Nazi because they said, somebody needed to sign, long story, not related, but somebody needed somebody to sign something. They said, well, you could call Nazi. Maybe Nazi could sign it for you. And Nazi came, and they had a pencil that worked underwater. I think one of those grease pencils, probably. And it was a book. It was dictated, of course, long story, but by Professor Huffer. Who was a whale, known like it was like, anyway, not important. It was a book, and it was a book signing, and then the whale realized I can't sign my own book. This was like a soft book signing, which luckily they had the foresight. They said, let's do one for friends and family. And then the whale did a reading of it. Oh boy, it wasn't super interesting because it was a book like Plankton Across the Ages, I think it was called. So it was very, very, very scientific, very in-depth stuff. Phytoplankton, it was said, anyway, I don't know my phyto from my plankton or my zooplankton from my phytoplankton. And so Huff said, they called Nazi, and Nazi came, and it didn't work. Like, Nazi could technically sign the books, but it just didn't work between the suckers and the thing. And Nazi could make general signature, but the Huff was not, said, well, I prefer to just not sign the books at all, because it just doesn't feel like, you know what I mean? And there's no harm. We tried. And, we're not humans. So I don't know why, and I said, we tried to get an otter to come sign the book, but the otter just was too, said, I got frolicking to do. And as he said, huh? And the huffer said, I know this bird, some sort of, like a bird that's out on this rare island, not that far. Like, I could give you a ride. Well, I can't, but I have somebody here that could give you a ride out there. And according to this bird makes clothes. It lives on an island where a bunch of stuff washes up that falls off of container ships. And this bird, like, wears a coat and like an ascot, which is like a bit like it goes around the bird's neck. Just say, well, that doesn't seem like a good idea. And even has a hat. And as he said, interesting. And what kind? What? And they said it's a dodo bird. According to the humans, this is a very few of these in existence. And said, yeah, makes sense. But I'll set it up if you're down for it. And Nazi said, why not? Why would you want me to meet this bird? And said, I don't know. I just get the sense that, I don't know. There's like something reminded me of it. I'm not sure the exact association. So Nazi said, okay. So this other whale, Nazi got with the whale and like attached itself to its back, and the whale started swimming. And Nazi just started to enjoy the ride, met some cool barnacles and pretended Nazi was a barnacle for a while. And you listen to the sound of the whales breathing. You ever want to relax, you listen to a whale breathe, man. And eventually Nazi got to this island, and there on the island was a bird. And Nazi said, well, how do I get a hold of the bird? And the whale said, I don't know. You got to swim in because I can't get that close to the island. And so Nazi went around and swam around the island and obviously didn't want to get too close. And then one day, like, a storm came in and kind of like the way the currents were, Nazi kind of noticed that there was some swirling, that there was like these weird eddy type currents around the island where stuff would go towards the island and then it gets swept and kind of float around, maybe due to the undersea landscape. I mean, first Nazi didn't like it because Nazi thought we're going to get washed up and then it would turn back around. And then after the storm, Nazi noticed that there's this one big metal container floating. And Nazi said, oh, okay. Then they say, the whales say the bird gets stuff out of these containers. Maybe I'll just stick to the side of this and wait around. And Nazi eventually, like, this bird lands in there, and the bird's wearing a coat and not a cummerbund, but the kind of the thing you would put like a bit like a cummerbund, but it's like like a frilly thing that goes on your chest that you put on like a vest and a hat, and landed on there, and the bird pecked the thing and then listened to the sound of the sound of the inside of the container when it's pecking. And then the bird was kind of talking, okay, I was saying, and then it was reading the sides of the container, and then looked over the side Nazi was on and said, whoa, hey, you're an octopus. And Nazi said, yeah, are you the bird that, you're the bird that wears clothes, I guess. And the bird said, wears clothes, makes clothes. My name's Bitra. And Nazi said, I'm Nazi, nice to meet you, Bitra. And the Bitra said, well, what are you doing here on the side of a container? And Nazi said, waiting for you. And Bitra said, really? What are you waiting for me for? And Nazi said, I'm not really sure, but I met a whale, and the whale said I should meet you. And Bitra said, interesting. And Nazi said, what are you doing exactly? Are you checking to see what's inside here? And Bitross said, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what's in here because I've been doing this a while, but this is a container. This is what humans use to ship stuff. And somewhere on the shipping lanes that are near here is, like, one of the things they ship is clothing. And for some reason, that's the closest shipping lanes to here is clothing. And a storm will come and it'll knock some of these containers off, and some of them get caught in the currents and stuff, and eventually they don't ever wash up on shore. They just kind of sit here floating. And as he said, yeah, I noticed that. That's why I was here waiting for you. And Bitross said, yeah, you're a smart squid, I wanted to say, but I know you're not no squid. And Bitross says, strangest thing is I need some help. I used to have, never had an octopus help me. I did have a squid that used to help me get this thing. We do want to ground this. And then Nazi said, what do you mean ground it? And Bitross said, well, we get it into shore on high tide, as close as we can get it. And we just try to get, like, the squid could, because of the eddies, I use this one particular eddy that you just happen to be in now. And we would get it on shore. Then, if we just get it a little bit stuck in the sand, that's all we need to do. And then the tide goes out. And then I open the container. And then I take whatever's out of there. The clothes out of there, and then what's after that? And then Bitross said, well, then usually the container, since it's empty, will wash out in the next thing, or we'll push it over a little bit, and then the squid would carry it out during, again, based on the tides, to get it out of the eddies so it'd float away. A little bit, and then it's sinking. We've got a nice reef going here. I actually even have some cool octopuses down there, but none of them want to work for me. And Nancy said, why? And Bitross said, well, I just pay in trade, so the only thing I could give you is clothing. And most sea creatures say, no, I'm fine. I don't need any clothes. It's more of I don't know. They say I'm not a dodo bird, and I don't know what they mean other than that they don't like to express themselves through clothing, or they don't see the utility in it because the circle of life has given them all they need. And Nazi said, that gives me an idea. I'd love to help you. You have other help? And the dodo bird said, oh, yeah, because they can't always get the container open, so I got some crabs that work for me, a couple other birds. I got a whole team that work for me in trade. We call ourselves the clothing crew. Everybody likes to wear clothes. But you'd have to think about, do you want to wear some clothes? And then, yeah, you could work for me for a little while. I've never had an octopus take me up on it, though. You octopuses seem as happy as otters almost. And Nazi said, well, you're giving me an idea of a problem I've been trying to solve. And Bitross said, tell me more. And so Nazi, I'll give you a short version because, so Nazi explained to Bitross everything we've talked about. You know, the dream of eating like an otter, the lost shell, the meeting of the dragonfly, and the ability to become the most, at this point, in the most dexterous octopus in the history of the world. But then the fact that, yeah, there were some times where there was utilities that Nazi couldn't help with. And the difficulties that ensued, and Nazi said, and I could really help people, you know, other sea creatures. And the Bitross just watched knowingly and said, this is fascinating. And Nazi said, why? And Bitross said, well, I've always wanted to we have gloves. And then they said, what's a glove? And then Bitross explained what a glove was. And it said it just happens to be what's on this container are these long gloves that humans would wear for formal functions, I think, even though there'd be other occasions where they could wear them. They're traditionally kind of given this idea that you'd wear it at a formal function, but and I think they'd be perfect for you. We could use gloves that cover all of your suckers. We might have to go through a few iterations until we get the right idea. And maybe even what's going to work best for you, or maybe even situational gloves, depending on the situation. But I also think that you might be good working on clothes for a little while. Maybe you'll enjoy it. And Nancy said, well, I'm willing to try. So then they did everything. They got the container. They unloaded the container. It's full of elbow-length gloves. It was bound for a store for billionaires only. And it had different types of material, even had some neoprene elbow. I said, what, even billionaires, they wear elbow gloves. They may have an occasion where they wear neoprene elbow gloves. And then once they got that unloaded, BitRye took, and it was difficult because, again, this is, you're talking about a land creature and a sea creature. But they actually, when the container sunk, BitRye said, why don't you make the inside of that container your home and workshop? And Nazi said, well, I can make it my office, too, if I get into my business. And BitRye said, okay. And then over the years, at first Nazi became really good at helping with clothes. But Nazi said, this isn't really my thing. So it was more of a hobby, and BitRye said, that's fine. Maybe it's time for you to go out in the world. What is it you really want to do? And Nazi said, I really want to find that shell. And so Nazi eventually got a bunch of different kind of gloves, had this business, became known for helping people, but at the same time was trying to find that spot, with the green grass, and Nazi was checking spot after spot after spot near near Nazi's home reef, looking for the place that the sea lion lost that shell. And then when Nazi wasn't working, trying to find the shell and doing favors for people, saying, hey, could you pick that up for me? Could you sign this for me? Could you wave like this? Or could you we want to hold this thing up so it can be kissed by everyone, this young platypus. And Nazi said, no problem, not a problem. Can you juggle at a birthday party? And Nazi never wasn't anti-octopi. Nazi loved being an octopus and was a big part of the octopus community. It was just something that Nazi did. But again, at night, Nazi would look for the sea lion. But I don't know, sea lion, no one had ever heard of the sea lion. And then one day, after years and years and years and years and years of looking, Nazi was just out for a swim. And Nazi had no gloves, happened to have no gloves on, just out swimming out in the old reef, visiting, from afar. Had taken a whale all the way, across wherever to wherever. And again, it was one of those days, and Nazi was just enjoying it. And this was, late in Nazi's existence in this particular ocean. And again, Nazi saw something out of the corner of Nazi's eye. And it was a sea lion. It was looking around in some grass at the bottom of a gully. Nazi said, you got to be kidding me. And Nazi went down there, and there was a sea lion crawling around, digging. Nazi said, what are you doing? And the sea lion said, told this tale. My father found, an uncle and my sister and my aunt and my cousin. And this shell they'd always been looking for. In this particular sea lion said, I'm an expert and I know this is where it is. Unfortunately, like the amount of material that has been accumulated over the 26 years or whatever since it was lost, I know it's been my quest. Nazi says, it's been my quest too, and let me help you. And they dug and they dug and they dug and they spent, and then Nazi even went and said, well, I could go get my gloves. And the sea lion said, no, I think this is one of those quests that just doesn't have a solution. Because again, I figured it was a statistical impossibility. Like, because of the basic shifting, every calculation I did. But I just had to try. Thank you for helping me try. And Nazi said, I got this crazy idea that reminds me of like maybe we're on the wrong kind of quest. And the sea lion said, what do you mean? And they said, well, what if we try to do how it all started? Let's go get some bivalves that are prepared to make their journey through the circle of life and have gratitude for that. And the sea lion said, yeah, and have gratitude for that. And we just keep doing that, and we meet on a regular basis, and we do that. And I have a couple of great spots to eat around here. And the sea lion said, well, let's go. And they just happen to be eating. And Nancy said, this particular brackish area is where you met this, they're talking about their lives, both of them equally. And while they were eating, they heard this splash and splash and splashing going on, a splash that could only be associated with the pure, unadulterated joy. And a couple of otters come by, and they said, what are you two doing? You're trying to eat like otters? And they said, kind of. We always think it looks so fun, eating like otters. And, I guess we never really talked to a lot of otters, but it makes sense. And the otter said, oh, yeah, it's pretty fun, but not as fun as, like, being an otter in general. And they said, well, what's the funnest part about being an otter? And they said, frolicking. And then, we all have our own, like, pastimes that bring us joy. And they said, what kind of pastimes do otters have? And there was one otter named Ginanch and another otter named Bootenhole. And Bootenhole said, oh, well, I like to make, the humans have this thing where they cut someone's profile out of paper. I like to do that with shells. And you could have heard a pin drop in the ocean when the otter said that. And they said, you make people's profiles out of shells. And the otter said, yeah, that's what I like to do for otters, but I could do it for octopuses or sea lions. And the sea lion said, well, could you do that for us? And then they became fast friends. And everybody kind of didn't get exactly what they wanted, but they found what they needed there in a sea where the octopus wore gloves. Good night, everybody. All right, I want to thank everybody who became a patron recently. Neve, Desiree, and Justin. Thanks. Good night, Jay-Z, Dana, and Sarah. Thank you. Thanks. Good night, Carrie, Andra, and Lily. Thanks. Good night. Carly, Deborah, and Camille. Thank you. Thanks. Good night. Alexander, Joseph, and Sarah. Thank you. Thanks. Good night. Jonathan, Mark, and Eric. Thank you. Thanks. Good night. Brad, Susan, and Casey. Thank you. Thanks. Good night. Tori, Adrian, Lily, thank you, thanks, good night. Jimmy, Lydia, and Kristen, thank you, thanks, good night. Joe, Madeline, and Laura, thanks, good night. Guru, Brandon, and Haley, thank you, thanks, good night. Kevin, William, and Cara, thank you, thanks, good night. Clayton, Samantha, and Jen, thank you, thanks, good night. Andy, Tammy, and Ashley, thank you, thanks, good night. Will, Flora, and Charlie, thanks, good night. And Megan and Kate, thank you, thanks for the support, and good night. Sleep With Me exists a free show because people that support the show directly or support the sponsors. That's how we're able to come out twice a week for free. We grow as a podcast, and podcasting grows just by sharing your experience with either Sleep With Me or podcasts in general. So if you have a chance to do that, that's a huge help. And yeah, that's it. I just want we have a way to reward people that share the show at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer that I'll talk about here coming up. Thanks. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, BetterHelp. You know, I've talked about my own journey with my own mental health, my own use of a licensed professional therapist, because I guess I want to normalize it for you and say, yeah, it's not easy. 2020 and 2021 have not been easy, but I want to empower you to take steps to take care of yourself, whether you're feeling depressed, you're struggling with your relationships, you're having difficulty sleeping, meeting your goals. Tonight's sponsor, BetterHelp, offers online professional counselors who can listen and help. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. In that way, you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. And BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. And people close to me, people in my personal life, have utilized the services of BetterHelp, and they are really happy with it. And our podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and our listeners get 10% off their first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/sleepwithme. Visit betterhelp.com/sleepwithme. That's betterhelp.com/sleepwithme, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced BetterHelp professional. Thanks, everybody. Hey, everybody, Scoots here. Before I tuck in, I just want to let you know about our referral program. That's where you can get great rewards for free, just referring people to the podcast. And you can do that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer, REFER. And you just let people know about the podcast. Use this special link. You share it on social media or wherever, you share online. And you could even earn ad-free episodes, and the way to get into our, our like little secret club that there's really no way to get into unless you hear an opportunity or you see an opportunity that I announce. And that's our Wall of Fame and our Dream Door Society. And Cornelia is already well beyond that in referrals, so it's very, very possible. And I haven't checked it in the last couple of weeks, but I'm sure a couple other people are up there getting close. But it all starts with that first referral. And you just let people know, hey, this is a podcast that helps me fall asleep, that I enjoy listening to. That's at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer, REFER. Thanks, everybody.